not true that the wise men didn't arrive in Bethlehem until like 5 days later?
Okay.
Is this true?
I'm waiting for the third part.
It'll come to me.
Okay, very good.
I'd just like to point out that this is
Not on.
that this is not on. We have the Father, the Daughter, and the Holy Stephanie.
So you can answer text questions?
Sure. I think what happened in the nativity scene is a combining of gospels, because the Magi, the wise men, are actually in Matthew, and the nativity scene with the cows and all of that is more so in Luke. So they kind of just put them both together, but the Magi probably didn't come until Jesus was like 2, actually. So
They came from so far away, it took them a while to get there.
yeah.
The third part was, I'm sorry.
Hold on. Oh, yeah.
Oh, we were
I remember the third part of the question now. So then when Herod found out that the wise men had come looking for the Christ child, so that was part of the question, was when did the family flee Bethlehem for fear of Jesus' life?
Well, the two scriptural references that help us too are when in Matthew, when it says the Magi came, they go to the house where Jesus was. And so they assume that means that Mary and Joseph were settled in Bethlehem, and they're actually in a house. And then the other thing is Herod, of course, killing all the kids 2 years and younger. So that means that there might have been that gap of time between when they got there and when they actually fled for 2 years.
What prompted that question? Why have you wondered that?
Because obviously in some churches they don't celebrate the gift of the Magi for a week later.
Right.
That's actually the big celebration in like the Coptic church in Egypt. Christmas is kind of this, yeah, that's nice, but it's Epiphany that's like the big one.
Good. Other questions?
And so what is the significance of the 3 gifts that the wise men brought?
Already stumped him? That's not good.
I think somebody fresh out of the seminary ought to answer that one, don't you?
I've heard a couple different reasonings behind it. I mean, so it's frankincense, gold, and myrrh, and that those are typical gifts to give a king. So the wise men, first they went to what's it called, Jerusalem, and first they went to Jerusalem and asked, where's the person who's going to be the new king of the Jews? And they asked that to King Herod. So that's kind of like, all right, the person who's going to replace me? That kind of stinks. So they might have had with them gifts that would have been appropriate for a king. I've also heard, well, no, never mind, that wouldn't make any sense. That's what I think.
Well, I've also heard that the frankincense and myrrh were death gifts too, used in the preparation of the body.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the gold is the gift of precious metal.
Yeah.
Is that what you heard too?
Yeah, I've heard like frankincense is, because it's like an oily, smelly thing, you know, so it might have been like, not an anointing oil necessarily, but something in that vein. I don't know. They have better answers than me.
So it could have
I'm
been,
still new at this.
it could have been the significant, if the writer, Matthew, as he's writing this, might have been, kind of referencing Jesus' death in the future. I mean, that could be part of it too. A lot of pictures, paintings you see of Jesus' birth, there's always a little cross in the painting somewhere. So it's like always connected to the death of Jesus too.
What have you heard, Marilyn?
Well, I'm wondering if the myrrh has something to do with the hyssop.
Does myrrh be bitter, a bitter fragrance?
Oh.
And hyssop, and then I'm thinking of the frankincense and the washing of his feet with her hair, and then
Yep.
like it was a foreshadowing, like you're saying,
Exactly.
of his crucifixion.
Yeah.
His passion, yeah.
Yep. Very good.
virgin birth, why do the Gospels trace Jesus' lineage through Joseph?
Wait, why do you ask first? Before we get to that part later. Oh, because you don't know. I can answer this. All right. So actually, like Rachel was saying earlier, like we have the two birth narratives, right, from Matthew and Luke. And one, the Magi shows up, and one, the shepherds show up. And in one, Jesus' lineage is traced through Joseph, and the other, Jesus' lineage is traced through Mary. So you get both. The important thing about Joseph is that he's connected to the line of David. And all this Old Testament stuff is like a son of David, royal David city, son of David. And so, actually, like, we should make a bigger deal about Joseph at Christmas, because he could have said, no thanks. He could have opted out of this, right? And then that whole, like, line of David thing would have been broken. But it took, like, incredible faith for him to go, my engaged, soon-to-be wife is pregnant with somebody else's kid, as far as I can tell. But that he steps up and goes, yeah, I'll be his father, like, is a huge act of faith and was crucial to the story so that Jesus would be connected through David's lineage. So it does trace back both, but that's why Joseph is really important to the whole deal. Does that answer your question, Darla? Yep. Fulfilling lots of prophecies that the Messiah would come through the line of David.
One of the things about adoption in those times, and I think maybe only families who have adopted somebody get it, how much they really do become the family. And so in that sense, back then there was no distinction. If a child was adopted into a family, they had as much rights as any other child that was naturally born. And so I think it really is key to the story that it does go through David's line. And that's why Joseph is so critical, like Stephanie says. Good. All the way up here, Kyle, you can eat your exercise.
Why do we do this on December 25th? So close to the winter solstice. I've heard the summer solstice, winter solstice, bringing pagan beliefs into Christianity. I've taught Greek mythology and how we. So why December 25th is that picked? Because do we really know whose birthday?
No, we have no idea what his birthday was. I mean, maybe, I shouldn't say that, maybe someone actually has tried to do a lineage thing, but I can't imagine it would be totally accurate. It was a governmental idea, basically, because, at least this is what I've heard, it was a pagan holiday. And when, way back when Christians were persecuted, and then finally the emperor, Constantine, became Christian. And so they wanted to really introduce it into society and make it a part of everything. And so they, Easter is the festival of fertility, and it was the winter festival, and that became the two big Christian holidays too. And that's partially why, like the Coptic holiday in Egypt, Christians in Egypt have been persecuted to varying degrees for years, and so they keep to that original Epiphany being the big celebration to kind of keep the purity of their tradition a little more.
The other thing I have to say about Jesus' birthday, there are actually astronomers that figured out that the stars that the shepherds used was probably this cool alignment of planets. I don't know, my sister goes to Notre Dame and was in this astronomy class and they're talking all about it. And apparently that happened sometime in April around Jesus' birthday. So if that's what you want to go with, go ahead. But I think the other thing that's important is that it's not just some pagan festival hundreds of years ago, but like, think of all of these festivals that, as Alaskans, we can understand in the midst of this darkness, celebrate the coming of light. Whether it's Hanukkah, whether it's Kwanzaa, whatever, like, we need some good news, right? So, in the darkest time of the year, a lot of people go, you know what, let's light some candles. Let's have a festival and celebrate that the light is coming back. And whether that's the winter solstice, Hanukkah, Christmas, the light of the world coming, that's pretty good news around December 21st. And so it's, everybody celebrates the light returning. And I think that the Christians go, oh yeah, the light of the world is coming back. This would be a pretty good time to do that. So.
Did anybody notice 47 seconds more of daylight?
Light of the world is coming back. So, I mean, that's what makes the most sense to me in terms of why we do Christmas now, is because everybody's doing something of celebrating the light. So,
I don't see anybody jumping right up.
I hate
Go
to
ahead.
take up all the time. So
Plant within the-
when Herod died, it was safe to return to his homeland. So Herod's dead. Is there another Herod okay, there's two Herods.
oh, there's
Yes.
lots of Herods.
Oh, there's
Yeah.
lots of Herods.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
They weren't very imaginative with names.
So they just kept it going.
Because there was another Herod at the time of Jesus' crucifixion.
Yeah, there's the two kind of, if you follow Luke exactly, it's, you know, the angel comes to Mary, and then Mary and Joseph go to Bethlehem, and then the next basic thing is, in Luke, is that Jesus is baptized. In Matthew, that's where you get the angel coming to Joseph, actually. Angel comes to Joseph, and then they go to Bethlehem, and then they hear about this threat from Herod, and they flee to Egypt. So you have these two kind of timelines that are laid out in the two different Gospels. But yeah, there were a lot of Herods.
One of the things was, and we saw it in the Roman emperors too, is that they often sought to claim the name of a previous king or emperor who had power. So there's something about taking the name of the one who was more powerful or as powerful.
Oh, and Pope
Popes,
Benedict
too.
the 16th.
Well, back then there wasn't a lot of like press, so you'd just be like, oh, Herod is king, and then if there was a new one, you're like, oh, well, I still have to respect Herod, not who's this new guy. So.
Yes, Barb, hold on a second. Let's get the microphone so everybody can hear it.